In today's world filled with distractions, pressure, and uncertainty, many feel lost. We chase achievement, approval, and more, only to discover we are emptier than before. But over 2,000 years ago, a few men quietly wrote down the answers. Not for fame, not for followers, but for clarity, for peace, for a life well lived. Their names were Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. They were not perfect, but they were awake. And their wisdom still speaks. In this video, we'll explore their teachings, not as history, but as a guide, a map, to help us return to what truly matters. Let's begin. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of inner peace. There was a time in my life when everything felt out of control. The company I worked for was going through a rough patch. My teenage son had stopped talking to me. And I was waking up every morning with a weight in my chest, not from illness, but from worry. I remember one morning, I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee. The house was quiet. My wife was still asleep. And for the first time in a long while, I allowed myself to just sit. No phone. No emails. No thoughts racing. Just still lanes. That's when I remembered something I had read years ago, a quote from Marcus Aurelius: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It hit me harder than expected. Because for weeks, maybe months, I had been trying to fix everything around me. The job. The people. The outcomes. But not once did I stop to ask, what's going on inside me? You see, Marcus wasn't just a Roman emperor. He was a man who woke up every day to chaos, wars, politics, betrayal, yet somehow found calm. How? He didn't try to control the world. He focused on his own mind. That morning, I made a decision. Instead of checking my phone first thing, I'd read one Stoic quote. Just one. Then I'd sit for 5 minutes. No agenda. No noise. Just presence. It didn't fix my life overnight. But something in me shifted. I stopped reacting to everything. I started responding instead. With patience. With clarity. That's when I noticed, the calmer I became, the less chaotic life seemed. My son started to open up again. Not because I pushed, but because I listened. And work? It was still uncertain, yes. But I no longer let the uncertainty rule me. Marcus also wrote, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. That thought, just that, can change the entire tone of your day. At this age, after 40, we've lived enough to know that control is an illusion. The market shifts. People change. Health comes and goes. But one thing stays: how we choose to meet life. That's what Marcus teaches. Not how to win the outside world, but how to win the inner one. And when you realize that that peace is not out there, but within you, you stop fighting. You start living. This lesson doesn't end here. Because once we reclaim our mind, we must also reclaim our time. And that is the wisdom Seneca brings. He reminds us that time is not short, we just waste much of it. Let's talk about that next. Seneca, the poet of time. After I learned to quiet my mind like Marcus Aurelius taught, I noticed something else. Even with a calmer mind, my days still felt rushed. The hours flew by. And by the time I laid down at night, I couldn't remember where the day had gone. Have you ever felt that? You wake up with good intentions. But then, the emails, the phone calls, the traffic, the errands. And suddenly, it's bedtime again. One evening, I stumbled across a quote by Seneca. It was simple, but it hit deep. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. I sat there for a while, staring at that sentence. And I thought, is that what I've been doing? Wasting time? I didn't want to believe it. But then I looked back. All the weekends I spent mindlessly scrolling through my phone. All the times I told my daughter, "Not now, sweetheart, I'm busy." All the plans I put off because I thought I had plenty of time. Seneca was right. Time isn't the problem. How we use it, is. He also said, begin at once to live. Count each separate day as a separate life. What if today was a full life? Not just another Tuesday, but a story, with a beginning and an end. Would you treat it differently? Would you call someone you love? Would you take a walk without your phone? Would you sit in silence for a moment, not to do something but just to be? I started doing something small. Each morning, after waking up, I'd say out loud, "This is a new life." It sounds silly, I know. But it changed how I approached my day. I stopped putting things off. I stopped rushing. I started noticing the sound of birds outside the window, the way my wife smiled at her morning coffee, the warmth of sunlight on my face. Those little things, the things we think are nothing, they're everything. Because one day, we'll look back. And it won't be the big achievements we remember. It'll be those quiet, beautiful, ordinary moments. At this age, after 40, you begin to feel how fast the years go. You attend more funerals than weddings. You think more about what you've missed than what's ahead. But Seneca reminds us, you don't need more time. You need more presence. So if you've been rushing through life, always waiting for someday, let today be the day you begin to live again. Start small. Make this one day, this one ordinary day matter. Because once you begin living fully in the present, you start to see everything differently. And that brings us to Epictetus, who shows us how to choose peace, even in the middle of pain. Epictetus, the slave who found freedom. After learning to slow down and truly live each day like Seneca taught, I started noticing how often I still let little things steal my peace. A rude comment from someone at work. A delay at the airport. An unexpected bill. Small stuff, but it used to ruin my whole day. Then one morning, I came across this quote from Epictetus: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." I read it 3 times. At first, I thought, well, that's easy for a philosopher to say. But then I looked him up and learned that Epictetus was born a slave. He had no money, no status, and for part of his life, he couldn't even walk without pain. Yet somehow, he found freedom. Not in the world outside but inside his own mind. That stopped me cold. Because here I was, living in a warm house, with a job, a family, and choices, and yet, I was giving my peace away, to traffic, to emails, to people who barely knew me. Epictetus showed me something I'd forgotten: freedom isn't about getting what you want. It's about not letting what you don't want control you. He also said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And it's true. So many nights, I've laid in bed, playing out things that might go wrong. Rehearsing arguments. Worrying about things that haven't even happened. It's like my mind was running a horror movie I didn't even want to watch. But what if, like Epictetus, I could stop the reel? What if, when something upset me, I paused and asked, is this worth giving away my peace? Is this really happening, or just a story I'm telling myself? One afternoon, I tried it. Someone cut me off in traffic. Normally, I'd get tense. Maybe curse under my breath. But that day, I took a deep breath. And said to myself, you don't have to go with them. Stay here. I stayed calm. And you know what? That moment passed, like a breeze. I was still me. Still peaceful. Still whole. That's when I realized, no one can take your peace unless you hand it over. And that, my friend, is real power. So if you've spent your life trying to fix everything around you, maybe now is the time to shift inward. Not to escape, but to find your anchor. Epictetus teaches us, you don't need a perfect life to be free. You just need a steady mind, and the courage to let go of what you can't control. And once you do, you begin to see the world not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Each moment becomes a lesson. Each challenge, an invitation to grow. And that leads us to the next truth, a lesson that echoes through time, that it is not death we should fear, but never truly living. Let's talk about that next. These men lived centuries ago, but their words feel like they were written for today. Marcus Aurelius teaches us to return inward. Seneca teaches us to value time like treasure. Epictetus teaches us that freedom is already within us. They don't ask us to be perfect. They ask us to be aware, to pause, to choose. So, next time you feel overwhelmed, remember, you are not the storm. You are the sky. Next time you feel behind, remember, time is not running out, attention is. Next time you feel powerless, remember, your response is your power. Begin at once to live. Count this moment as a new beginning. If this message touched you, let us know. Like this video. Share a quote in the comments. And if you walk this path too, subscribe. Let's grow in stillness, together.